Shalom, family. This is Brother Aram. Today's going to be a short video about what the first fruits are, both on a literal and both on a spiritual level as well. And I pray that this is going to be edifying to you guys, that you may be able to understand what it is to offer your first fruits to the Most High, because obviously Israel doesn't really go over that as much, but I mean, obviously it's going to be addressed today. All right, so this is Exodus chapter 23 and 19. Now this is going over the physical level of how you will bring your first fruits into the Most High. All right, it says, the first of the fruits of thy land thou shalt bring into the house of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not seethe a kid in his mother's milk. So the first fruits of thy land, right? Because in Israel we had lands, although we don't have that now, but we had acres of lands. We had stuff that we was growing. We were kind of like farmers. We had lands that we were growing our wheat, our apples, bananas. We had it in our land. Now the first of that we had to bring into the Most High. Now obviously you can't bring a literal basket of fruit up to the Most High and say, here you go, because that's impossible. You can't do that. But how you would do it is, as we're going to bring out. So let's get one more precept on what is stated here in Exodus, because it says it twice. This is Exodus chapter 34 and verse 26. It says, the first of the fruits of thy land thou shalt bring into the house of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not seethe a kid in his mother's milk. So what you'll notice is, as you read the law, the Most High reinstates things that he's already said. Because Israel, we know, is a stiff-necked people. We got to tell them over and over and over again the same thing for them to get it. So, as it stated, thou shalt not seethe a kid in his mother's milk, talking about you cannot cook a kid goat in its mother's milk. So you can't do that. But obviously, the first of the fruits is what we're going over. So how you would do it is when you go to Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 9, you'll read about what you would do for the Feast of Pentecost, because we know the Feast of Pentecost is coming up. And that's another thing I wanted to mention as well, because with the Feast of Pentecost coming up, we got to make sure that we have our works right. And that's something that we're going to get into on the spiritual side. But with the Feast of Pentecost coming up, it's not just a day of feasting. Of course it is, because it's a feast day, but you don't want to just be like turning up and then after that happens, you go back and start sinning again. Like, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be serving the Most High. It says to serve the Most High with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. You want to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, not just before the Feast of Pentecost, but after the Feast of Pentecost. The same thing with Passover. We're a couple weeks out of Passover. We want to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing out of Passover. Every feast day is a chance for us to examine ourselves. The new moon is also a chance for us to examine ourselves. The new moon is an entirely start of a new month. We want to be able to be starting a new chapter in our life, whether it's putting away certain things or for us to reflect off of it and say that, listen, I haven't did this, I haven't did such and such in a month, or I haven't did this in a couple months. You want to be able to look back on it and be proud of what you've accomplished, and not be like, oh man, I'm still struggling with this. You don't want to be able to have any doubt in your mind about what you're faced with or what you're dealing with. You want to be able to know that you've overcame those things. Okay? So, we're going to go to the book of Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 9, covering the Passover. Alright? So it's Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 9. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye be come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the who? The priest. So when you were keeping the Feast of Pentecost, you would bring your first fruits to the priest, right? It says, and he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you on the morrow after the Sabbath. The priest shall wave it. So he will wave the sheaf as a wave offering unto the Most High, and that would be considered you offering your fruits unto the Most High on a literal level. So with us keeping the Feast of Pentecost in that time, that's how we would do it. Now obviously we can't do that now, because we're not in Israel, and we're not able to do the stuff that we usually were once used to doing because we're in captivity. Obviously, we have the iron above our head, the brass underneath us, as it says in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 23. We want to make sure that we are still able to offer those offerings even as of right now, in these current times that we're living in, being in more of a spiritual captivity, as it says in the scripture, us being in spiritual Sodom and Gomorrah. So we want to make sure that we are able to stay focused with continuing to offer the first fruits of the Most High, even here. Now, before I get to that, actually, I wanted to bring out one more precept to just kind of cover up the whole entire thing with the physical offering unto the Most High. And this is Deuteronomy chapter 26 and verse 1. And it shall be when thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance, and possessest it, and dwellest therein, that thou shalt take of the first of all the fruit of the earth, which thou shalt bring of thy land, that the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shalt put it in a basket, and shall go unto the place which the Lord thy God shall choose to place his name there. And thou shalt go unto the priest that shall be in those days, and say unto him, I profess this day unto the Lord thy God that I am come unto the country which the Lord sware unto our fathers for to give us. So you would put your fruit in a basket, and you would go to the priest, and you would go and tell him, as it just said, I profess this day unto the Lord thy God that I am come unto the country which the Lord swear unto our fathers for to give us. And the priest shall take the basket out of thine hand, and set it down before the altar of the Lord thy God. And thou shalt speak and say before the Lord thy God. Okay, actually, I'm going to stop right there. So you would give it unto the priest, and as we read in Leviticus 23 and 9, he will wave it for a sheaf offering. So he will wave it for a wave offering, wave the sheaf for the wave offering. And it will be considered an offering to the Most High. So that's on a physical level. Now getting into the spiritual level, we're going to go to Matthew 7 and 16. All right, Matthew 7 and 16. That's what we're going to go to. This is a classic precept. This is the book of Matthew chapter 7 and verse 16. It says, it says, ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns, or figs of thistles? So Yahushua is, actually, I'm going to jump up to 15. It says, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. So Yahushua was telling the disciples to beware of false prophets. You have a lot of false prophets in the world, like Yaju, T.D. Jakes, Creflo Dollar, a lot of people who teach falsely, and they don't bring out the word the way that they're supposed to. And those are false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. They're trying to take your money. They're trying to get you to bring them money so that they can have whatever their hearts desire. Cars, shoes, money, all that type of stuff. So Yahushua says, he gives us a hint. He gives us a clue in 16 where he says, ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns, or figs of thistles? He says, ye shall know them by their fruits. What does he mean by that? He's going to explain. Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them. So he says that by what they do is how you're going to be able to identify who they are. Right? Yahushua told the disciples on how they were going to be able to identify these people. As in that time, there were a lot of Sadducees and Pharisees who were saying that you didn't have to keep the law. And really, the Pharisees and Sadducees, they were actually against each other, because the Sadducees, they didn't believe in the resurrection. But the Pharisees, they did. So they came together, of course, when Yahushua was on the earth, to deceive and to try to kill him. And of course, they accomplished that whatever their heart desired, which was to kill him. But they were ravening wolves because they took people, as it says somewhere between Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, that they took the disciple and they made them more worse than themselves. So that's how they were. They were ravening wolves, just going and taking people wherever they could find them and just being evil and wicked. And you could see that by their works and by their spirit. And that's how you could tell if somebody, even in this truth, is wicked, because you can see it in their spirit. Whatever they're doing that is just seeming to be like off or anyway, or you can just kind of tell by how they come off, by how they look, and by how their countenance is. As it says, a man shall be known by his look. You'll be able to tell who these people are by the way they act. And Yahweh Shai was basically making confirmation and telling them that you're going to know who they are. It's not like you're not going to be left out in the open being like, oh man, nobody told me. Yahweh Shai told them right there. You're going to know who they are. So that's the fruits right there. All right. Now, we want to make sure that what we're bringing forth, especially coming into this Pentecost, is good fruit, so that the Most High can take a look into our basket and be like, okay, this brother, this sister, they've been bearing good fruit. You don't want to have the Most High take a look into your basket and he's saying, damn, it's all mold in here. It's all, what is this? What are you bringing to me? I'm not finna eat this. And it's a judgment that comes if the Most High does not see that you're bringing forth good fruit. It says it was hewn down and cast into the fire. That's a judgment right there. Something bad can happen to you if you do not bear good fruit coming into this Pentecost. You want to make sure that you're bearing the righteous fruits and committing yourself to the righteous acts of the Most High. All right? So we want to make sure that we keep the fruits of the Spirit. Now, what are the fruits of the Spirit on a righteous level? Let's go to the classic. Galatians 5:22. All right? Want to make sure that we are doing what we are supposed to be doing in this truth. And another thing is that I was mentioning, today, was to just learn to let stuff go. There's more important things that you have to focus on in this truth than things that are pleasing you in the flesh. Whether that's scrolling, whether that's watching too much TV, playing a game too much, whether that's you watching stuff online that you shouldn't be watching. You don't want to give your time to that, because you have things that you have to look forward to coming into these last days, which is to make sure that your spirit is right and that you're prepared to go into affliction. Because in Jacob's trouble, that's going to be a day of affliction where you're going to be afflicted to the max. So if you can't prepare yourself right now, then what makes you think you're going to be able to make it in Jacob's trouble? You got to be able to get through this. It's like boot camp training. When a soldier attends boot camp, it's to prepare him for going into war. If you can't pass boot camp, then they'll kick you out and say, listen, we commend you for your service, but you don't qualify. You got to go back home. And they send you back home because they're not trying to have your blood on their hands, because they trained you and you failed, and they still put you in, and you ended up dying. So you want to make sure that you're able to complete boot camp and not be sent back home. You don't want that to happen to you, because getting sent back home, failing boot camp, is you being destroyed in Jacob's trouble, which is the war. So we want to make sure that we've completed boot camp. We've completed what it is that we're dealing with right now, putting that behind us, doing the righteous acts, doing the righteous works of the Most High. And when war comes, we got our gun, we got our armor, the whole armor of the Most High. We get that after this. Right, so this is Galatians chapter 5 and verse 22. It says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. So bring forth those things. Those are ripe fruits, so that when the Most High looks into that, he's going to see that you're doing exactly that. You're showing love to your brother. You're having joy in serving the Most High. You're having peace amongst your brethren. You're having long suffering for those who have maybe wronged you, who may get on your nerves. You have gentleness in the way you speak, in the way you come off. Goodness, you have goodness about yourself. You have a good aura about yourself. Faith, you have belief in the Most High. You have faith in all things, no matter if things don't go your way. You have meekness. You have humbleness, pretty much what it is. Temperance. You have an ability to bear with certain things. These are all one and the same, pretty much. And if you have these things, you're good. You want to be able to abstain from the things that are mentioned in 17 through 21, and which you can read on your own, but we're covering the fruits of the Spirit. You want to be able to have the fruits of the Spirit right now, because that is what is needed. That is the topic of today, and that should be the topic of your life. As we have 35 days till Pentecost, you want to be able to have that at the top of your list. All right. And also another precept I wanted to get is, as I said, Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of Yahweh, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. So like I was saying, in boot camp, you go to war, and if you completed boot camp, you're ready for war. If you continue to bear these first fruits, you'll be ready for what's coming in Jacob's trouble, which is the wiles of the devil that's going to be at the max. It's already pretty bad with us being here, but you don't want to just be given in to these spirits, and then next you know, we got Pentecost coming up, and then you're still dealing with certain things. And the next thing, you got Jacob's trouble coming up. Lord's willing, Jacob's trouble happens. And Lord forbid, you're being off. You're still off, and you're still dealing with these sins, and you're getting destroyed in Jacob's trouble. And Lord's willing, we want to make sure that we're prepared for that day. And Jacob's trouble will happen. To correct myself, because I said Lord willing. Ain't no Lord willing. Jacob's trouble is going to happen. So, verse 12 says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So we got a lot of wickedness on the earth right now. And these are all obstacles that are put in your way to distract you and to destroy you. Simple as that. These demons are looking forward to killing you. That's their whole entire job. You got to understand that they got a sniper, red laser pointed right at your head. And every time you give in to those spirits, they snipe you, and that bullet goes straight through the dome. And that's it. And you got to repent to the Most High, and you have to restart all over again. So when you're dealing with these spirits, you got to understand that they're looking forward to killing you. The devil goeth about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. So Satan is looking to kill you. You got to understand that. This is no game. Okay? So verse 13, it says, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of Yahweh. So once you start bearing these righteous fruits, that's you taking on the whole armor of Yahweh. To be able to prepare yourself for war. To be able to have your shield, your buckler. Right? It says that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day. And having done all to stand. Now, as you can see what he mentions here, he keeps saying stand. When you're in sin, you're on the floor. It's like you got knocked out cold by Mike Tyson. You on the floor sleeping. Okay? So when you start to put on the whole armor of the Most High, and you start to bear those righteous fruits, that's you getting up on your arms first. Then you're on both knees. Then you're on one knee. And then you stand up. You're slouched. Then you stand up straight. And then you put on, your fighting stance because you're ready. So that is how this truth works with us overcoming, learning, and doing, and avoiding what we have in front of us, which is these obstacles. Okay, so verse 14 says, stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet stood with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. So there are fiery darts that the wicked have that they're looking to throw at you. It's coming at you very, very fast. All right, like I said, the sniper, it's pointed at you right here. Got the sniper, got the laser, it's pointed right here. They looking to pull the trigger at the stop of a dime. However they say it, right? So they're ready to pull it, and they're ready to kill you. right? So if you're not doing what you're supposed to do in this truth, then that bullet is going to hit you and it's going to go through the skull. Okay, so it says, um, 17, and the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Yahweh. Right, the word of Yahweh is sharper than any two-edged sword. That's in Hebrews 4 and 12. Praying always, so make sure you pray. Pray without ceasing. That's 1 Thessalonians 5 and 17, paraphrasing. It says, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all preservance and supplication for all saints. So that's what you want to make sure you're doing. And Paul preaches that throughout all his epistles. That's why whatever you're dealing with, read Paul, because Paul helped me through a lot of things and helped me realize a lot about myself that I never knew. And when you read a chapter or verse again, you'll notice something different every time. Don't let, because you read the Bible from front to back, say, okay, I read the Bible. Well, ain't nothing for me to learn. I'm an elder. I'm big dog. No, you ain't big dog. You still little dog. You got some growing to do, okay? So, you want to make sure, again, like I was saying, get back to the point, first fruits, okay? So, the next precept I wanted to go to is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4 and verse 4. I want to make sure that we are able to stand firm against the day of judgment. So that when the time does come, Yahushua can say that my servant, my good and faithful servant, he's been doing well through the Spirit. He's been able to resist the devil, resist the wiles of the devil, and has been able to stand firm in the faith, stand firm in truth. Okay? This is Wisdom of Solomon chapter 4 and verse 4. For though they flourish in branches for a time, yet standing not fast, they shall be shaken with the wind, and through the force of winds they shall be rooted out. See that? So you want to make sure that you're rooted in this truth. Rooted means, when you look at a tree, right? What you see on a tree, it has 1,001 different things that are under it, that are keeping it there. It has the branch, the root, all that type of stuff. And it's grown into the soil, right? It's reached deep into the soil so that nothing can really knock it down. Even the strongest hurricanes sometimes can't knock down certain trees. You want to be that tree who does not get knocked down, because that represents you standing firm in the truth and you're doing everything that the Most High has commanded you to do. And what you'll notice is that when you start to do those type of things, you start to see physical improvements as well. And you start to see different changes in your life because you're serving the Most High with all your heart and all your soul, right? But if you're not rooted and that branch is not there, or that branch isn't there, you're going to just be withered away. That tree is going to go off with the wind, never to be seen again. So you don't want to be that, right? Verse 5 says, the imperfect branches shall be broken off. Their fruit, meaning their works, unprofitable, not ripe to eat. Yeah, meat for nothing. That's cold right there, but that's the truth. The truth hurts. They tell you that. The OGs tell you that. They say the truth hurts. So you want to be able to bear fruit that is profitable, ripe to eat, and profitable for something. As Yahushua says, he gives the disciples different folds of understanding. Not all of us are meant to be teachers. Not all of us are meant to be the top brother to do just everything. It's like basketball. Not everybody's going to be an all-around scorer. Not everybody's going to be the next Kobe, next Michael Jordan, next Stephen Curry's. You got some people that's just meant to be centers. Everybody grows up thinking that they want to be a point guard. Even centers do. But when they start to get from 6'5", they're in 3rd grade, 6'8", and they're in 6th grade, and then 7 foot next, they're like in 11th grade. It's time for you to go and play center. You can't be no 7-footer shooting threes. I mean, you can, but your job is to defend the paint, and that's your fold of what you can do. That's your main skill. So you got to be able to identify what your main skill is and increase in that. increase in the fold of understanding that you have in this truth. Because if you don't, then you'll be, like it says, I read again, verse 5. The imperfect branches shall be broken off, their fruit unprofitable, not right to eat, yeah, meat for nothing. Don't be that type of brother who's meat for nothing. You want to be meat for at least something. You want to be able to at least do something. Like Smokey said, do something. I know it's funny, but you want to be able to at least have some sort of ability that you're good at. That you can say, oh, if I can do this, I'm really good at it. And hey man, listen, nothing can stop me. I'm a master at this. Like, this is something that I have worked on for the past couple years, months, and it's something that I can honestly say that I've improved that to the point where I've mastered it. That's what you want to say. You don't want to be like, oh, I don't know what this. You don't want to be at a point to where you're at a loss, because that is what is stated in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4 and verse 5, where it says meat for nothing, meaning that you can't do anything, you can't bear nothing, no fruits, no nothing, just nothing. That's all it is, nothing, just dust. A seed that's just planted in the soil that does not grow. The thing is that not every seed grows in soil to become a fruit. You got some seeds that are planted in the soil, and the farmer, they wait long periods of time and just nothing happens, because either the soil isn't meant for that fruit, or the fruit, it just can't grow. And all things being, of course, into the Most High doesn't want that fruit to grow. So if you're not increasing in this truth and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, eventually the Most High is just going to cast you off, and he's going to prevent you from being able to grow. And that right there is the Most High destroying the fruits of your mind, where you can't bear anything. No matter how hard you try, you can't bear nothing. You can't bear literally nothing. You can't bear anything, bro. Like, you can try to your best of your ability, and the Most High just won't let it work. That's because the Most High has destroyed the fruits of your mind. You don't want that to happen. Okay? Now, I don't want to be too long-winded on this, because obviously I want to get to the point, but I'm addressing the point. So the last precept I'm going to get is in the book of Psalms chapter 1 and verse 4, to show you what you can do to continue to stay rooted. And it's so simple, but yet so challenging at the same time, because you must make sure that you stay consistent with this, okay? Salaki, I meant to say Psalms 1 and 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners. So, as Yahushua said, you shall know everybody by their fruit. Do not walk in the way of the ungodly. And the thing is, they can try to seduce you because they see you growing and doing your best to serve the Most High, and the Most High can have Satan jump into them and use them as vessels to try to get you to go off and get you to drive off the deep end. You don't want that to happen. So don't walk in the counsel of the ungodly. That's where discernment comes in. And when you have discernment, you're able to easily tell whether or not something is fruitful or whether it's not fruitful. Because the Bible says all things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. So you got to understand and use discernment to be able to identify whether something is expedient or not. And what you'll notice is, like I said, when you serve the Most High, you'll notice that, okay, hold on, this isn't meant for me. And you'll leave off from it and say, you know what, I ain't going to do it. Now I'm addressing each topic because these all go back to fruits. Nor standeth in the way of sinners. Don't be around people who sin, man. If you smoke weed and you quit, don't go around somebody who smoke weed. Because what's going to happen? You're going to start smoking weed. You're going to say, hey, man, you want to roll this blunt? And you're going to be like, yeah. You're going to roll the blunt. And next thing you know, the Most High may have you take that one last puff. And next thing you know, your ghost is up there in the spiritual realm. That's it. You took that one last puff, and that puff sent you back to the spiritual realm. I'm serious. Evil communications corrupt good manners. Okay? I'm quoting a lot of precepts here, but of course, You can read them on your own. It says, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. So, meditating in the law day and night, that's the key to success. And I'm trying to tell you, it is not as easy as you think, because there are times when you want to kick back, relax, and enjoy the time that you got to yourself, especially if you work. You don't want to do nothing besides probably hop in your bed and watch a little bit of television that you got. And after that happens, call it night, when you could have been reading to increase your spirit. And next you know, you wake up in the morning and you just can't get your day started because you refuse to read. So it goes back into my point of just letting stuff go that's unprofitable. If you notice that TV is a distraction to you, let it go. It's not profitable for you to, as it says in Matthew, to lose your whole body when you could have cut one of those members off. So whatever has caused you to sin, it's better for you to cut it off before things get out of hand. So make sure you meditate, you read, whether if it's a short chapter or so. If you can say that you learned something out of it, then that's good enough. We read the word to learn. We don't read the word just to say we read. We've read because we want to learn to increase. Okay? It says, and he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. I'm going to tell you, you are in the spirit, everything works. Like, you feel like you're a god. I mean, we are gods, but you feel really like you feel that in you. Like, you just feel whatever you do just goes. It's like when you go on fire in a basketball game. Whatever you shoot, it just goes in the net. It don't matter if you got 2 people on you, even 3 people. You shoot over them, you confident, it go in. And you like, you can't stop me. So that's what happens when you're in the spirit. Things just go the way that they're supposed to go. Everything's just flowing. Instead of it being like this. You don't want it to be like that. Because when it's like that, you got stuff that you got to work on. Because you are in verse 4, as it says, the ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. You're just going. That's it. Just getting driven away. Going here, going there, going up, going down, going up right, going left right, going down right, going down left. It's a whole goddamn roller coaster for you. So it says, therefore the ungodly shall not stand in judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. That's it. If you are not committing yourself to the Most High, you will not stand in the day of judgment. And you will not stand in the congregation of the righteous. So, Israel, do righteousness, especially as we're coming into the feast of Pentecost. If you ain't doing what you're supposed to be doing, the Most High will judge you for that. So, with it being 35 days to Pentecost, make sure that you are committing yourself to the best of your ability, to the best way you can. Put away anything that is still holding you back. And with that, I say shalom, and I will see you guys in the next video.